Hi everyone, it's Miles with Polly's Produce and Gardens. Today I wanted to do a video, just kind of a general video about garden prep and kind of like your year-to-year plan. And the reason being, I've found a lot of people, a lot of my customers, a lot of gardeners I've met and spoken to, a lot of them just kind of leave a lot of their plants in the garden in the fall. And, so then in the spring, they have to pull weeds, they have to rake, they have to pull out the dead plants, they have to move their cages and do all those things. And so I've found what I think to be a better way and something that actually makes your garden healthier and actually makes your life easier. So a lot of that prep work I do in the fall. So like in the fall, basically I pull out all my cages, I pull out all my dead plants, and then I add a layer of shredded leaves. So that's kind of what I want to show you. Kind of reduces how often or how many weeds you have to pull in the spring. It allows you to just really kind of get an early start as soon as the springtime comes. And that's what I like to do, especially being super busy in the spring. I'd much rather just start planting in the spring than worrying about doing all these other prep work things. So I think a fall prep is ideal. So I kind of want to show you guys how I do that. So here we have kind of my cold season bed. Very appropriate today because it is randomly like 50 degrees and kind of wet. So you can see here I have all these shredded leaves. So you can see a little bit of hay in there and stuff. And I have a shredder that I have for that exact purpose, but you could also just use a mulching lawnmower. Have the mulching side thing closed and you can just run over your leaves, over and over again until you have a nice shredded consistency. So you can kind of see like the texture is very fine. So basically, like right here, like this hasn't been touched. So last fall, I layered all these leaves on top. And then when I was planting this cabbage here, very early on, like late March or so, all I do is just move this aside and dig my little hole. And then I just place my plant in there. And I do the same thing for when I'm direct seeding. So here we have some spinach and right there we have some lettuce. And so you can see here, this lettuce I planted actually March 4th. A lot of people are like, oh, I got to wait till Mother's Day or Memorial Day or what have you. But, there's cold season vegetables and there's warm season vegetables. And some of the warm season stuff, the cold season stuff, you can put in pretty early. So did these seeds sprout up in 5-6 days? No, absolutely not. It actually probably took closer to a month. But I'm of the mindset that, I'll give it a shot. So I just seeded these kind of in a broadcast seed way in the sense that I literally just kind of threw them on top. So basically I just raked this the leaf litter aside, exposing the bare soil as you can see here. Just kind of mix it up. You can use one of those 3-prong things right over there and kind of just mix it up. And then I'm just going to throw the seeds directly in there. And when I am seeding, let me show you guys over here. A lot of times once I've exposed the bare soil and then put the seeds in, I'll just kind of gently just layer a little bit more of this stuff right back on top. So that kind of keeps things warm, keeps things insulated, keeps the earthworms nice and happy underneath, and it also makes sure that that soil doesn't dry out. It keeps it nice and damp, which of course, helps the sprouting of your seeds. So you can see here I have some cabbage, some red cabbage, some spinach that I planted in March. You can see how much farther along those spinach plants are, and I got some lettuce going there, and so that's kind of my second round of greens. So I've been harvesting greens now for, 3 weeks or so. And just today I harvested like 2-gallon size bags of them. So I think this is kind of a really good technique because not only you can see there's really not that many weeds to pull, and you can see how much more weeds there are in kind of this bare soil area. So a lot of times I tell people, bare soil is kind of like the enemy. If you can avoid it, you want to have your soil covered with something as often as you can. So just to kind of show you the difference here, this is my garlic bed. So this was all planted in the fall, and you can see, how few weeds there are. Like these are all obviously just garlic plants, and truth be told, I did pull a couple weeds, but we're talking maybe 4 or 5 weeds. And you can see there's a couple, grass thingy here. Like it's not that you're never going to have to pull weeds, but just to kind of show you a contrast, over here I have my onion bed. So I basically took all this leaf litter off. I got like a bucket, I just throw it in there and I put in my onions right here. But you can see how many more weeds there are in this bed, especially it's been so wet and it's been kind of hot, so the soil is warming up nicely, but that means weed seeds that are sitting in there are going to sprout. And believe it or not, I actually spent probably 10 or 15 minutes weeding this bed yesterday. So I just kind of want to show the difference between when you have just straight bare soil, it's very easy for weed seeds to blow in from outside, or they're sitting already in the soil and then they sprout. And so you have to kind of spend a lot of time weeding when you have bare soil. So similar technique over here. I put in my tomatoes, and tomatoes are very susceptible to disease. So by keeping a lot of this leaf litter here, by basically just kind of moving it aside, digging a hole, putting in my plant, and then pushing all this leaf litter back around the base of the plant, this reduces how much soil will splash back up and hit the leaves when it rains. And so that's a good technique to kind of reduce the disease incidence on your tomatoes, which just causes you to have healthier plants, and healthy plants make great tomatoes, and then you get healthy because you get to eat the delicious organic tomatoes. So yeah, that's kind of how I like to do things, because if you can keep this leaf litter, it reduces how often you have to weed, and then when you're ready to plant, you just push it to the side and you can put your seeds in. So right here we have a bunch of cilantro. You can see that sprouted up nicely, and right here I have a bunch of basil, and so you can see those tiny little sprouts all over. And another thing, I kind of just broadcast seed, just kind of throw the seeds in. These are baby little tomatoes. They live in my compost pile, and then they sprout as soon as the temperature gets warm. So anyway, hopefully that was a helpful video. That's just kind of how I do it. May not be the best technique, but I think it's definitely better than, kind of just leaving things in the fall, because that's the kind of time where, you want to be outside and kind of enjoy the last little bits of warm weather. So I would definitely suggest doing your prep work in the fall, and then come spring, all you got to do is plant, and it's a little bit easier to kind of get over that hump. Because a lot of people, they're not ready to garden because they know it's going to be so much work to get started. And so if you do your stuff in the fall, come spring, it's like, there's no excuse. You just get to go out there and throw in your seeds, put your plants in, and you're good to go. So anyway, thanks for watching. Happy gardening.